Mentioning factors. You might think he's a notorious casino owner. But do you know? During a period of Chinese history, factor. It was once cultivated into an art form with a status comparable to what kind of ornamental paintings? The poppy originated in Europe, the European crops we previously encountered. For example, living in a cramped space. Cabbage. European and American real estate brands all originated in the Mediterranean region. After all, the civilization there is more ancient than that in Europe. But the poppy is a very exception. The earliest ruins he discovered? It was 4600 BC. Modern ceramic culture in the Danube River basin of Germany. At that time, what were people like? Newly unlocked agricultural and livestock technologies. Besides filling one's own stomach, we also need to find a stable source of feed for livestock. In the new century, not yet used to being treated like cattle or horses, it's common for people to be depressed and have their heads sticking up. And what about the people at that time? Some wild animals were found. I really love a plant called anal hair factor. Anal hair factors, as the name suggests, on his flower stems and bad movies. It was covered with short, stiff anal hairs. As a herbaceous plant with strong vitality, in early Europe, it is a common wildflower. So, the locals fed the high hair factor to their livestock. What happens to livestock after they eat poppies? It felt like being touched by a crow from the south, becoming naive and innocent. Besides being useful, the internal fluids of the factor can also be used as food. Why is it called a factor? Yaina refers to a type of peach jar with a small mouth and a large belly. It can be used to store rice. You see, the fruit of the factor also looks like a jar. The tree refers to millet, and inside the cherry tree fruit, there are indeed many seeds that look like kidneys. The diameter is less than 1 millimeter. When the seeds are mature enough, when the wind blows, the seeds will be scattered all around. Help the cherry tree disperse its seeds, compared to other plants, which fall off at the slightest touch. As long as the harvesting time is controlled, grass seeds are fine. You can collect a lot of seeds, because its seeds have an oil content exceeding 42. Let its seeds. It can be used as a condiment similar to sesame. Nowadays, some foreign breads are made from desserts. Hardness will also be added. The seeds can also be used to extract oil. It only took a little over 1,000 years. The influence spread throughout Europe. It also reached a paradise for many crops. Mediterranean region. People discovered that the fruit will ooze a white sap. This white slurry is no longer the rubber it used to be. Instead, alkaloids. The main ingredient is malaria-based metabolite. It can act on the human central nervous system. It produces an analgesic effect, regardless of the cause of the disease. Feeling uncomfortable is always their common expression. And these factors happen to suppress these pains. If it doesn't hurt anymore, then it's healed, right? In Egyptian and Mediterranean cultures, Ying Su is very important. Even if someone is on the verge of death, resuscitation efforts are initiated. That works too. Drink a cup of Ying Su sap mixed with bamboo heart sap. Come to Aries and find an arrow master. Various reliefs. Poppy fruit is involved in sculptures and ornaments. Does the god of sleep need or not? Whose name is Nexus, the god of night. They might wear a poppy on their head or hold a poppy flower, because the fruit structure is very scientific. Therefore, there are also various earthenware jars and other containers. Construction of imitation factors, because the paralyzing content in the branches and leaves is very low. How to make 20 sheets of opium from sesame seeds and white ginger solidification. The effective ingredients are relatively few, until around 1400 BC. In a place called Cyprus in the Mediterranean Sea, opium then underwent its destined ritual. People boiled and fermented opium, obtained concentrated opium. People at that time did not know. What kind of demon did you create? In this area, on an island nation of less than 10,000 square kilometers, the creation of mature opium. So, what about mature opium? It's actually what we know as opium, although it is made from factors. But the speed of transmission. The factors are not synchronized. Around 200 BC, the factor had already spread to the Persian region. It then spread to India. Around the Tang Dynasty, factors entered China. Yong Taodao, a poet of the Tang Dynasty. The book Returning to the West was written in ancient times. The traveler's sorrows from afar dissipate today. Ma Qian's first encounter with southern Fujian flowers. This is a flower from southern Fujian. It refers to the poppy flower. People may be curious, since the factors were introduced so early. Opium is an addictive substance. Why do we hear about opium? They all seem to be connected to Qing. So many years in between. Why are these factors unknown? Actually, the factor that makes drugs is called the opium factor. It was cultivated from the steel king factor, just like wild corn. As for cultivated corn, I believe everyone has seen some factor identification techniques. They really know how to talk about factors. Smooth and hairless. Factors of robust body. The fruit is very large, like a big egg. For annual plants, these fruits are so disproportionate. It consumes too much energy. Only artificially domesticated cultivated crops. This large fruit is now reasonable, and there are no specially cultivated factors. Their paralyzing content is very low. The fruit is also small. It is very difficult to make real opium. During the Tang Dynasty, what are the factors that influence planting in China? The Tang Dynasty Medical Scientist Development Program is being implemented in this internship. This is how factors are written. Its flowers resemble leaves. It has a light reddish-purple hue. Tang Dynasty poet Warenbi also said, cattail grass, large house, connected ground white. Thick rouge stains half the handkerchief red. In other words, where were the heroes and flowers of that time? There is red wheat second shot. In the Ying Su tree, there aren't many species with this color. Combining these ancient books, the author was able to see flowers here in Gansu and Chang'an. Zhang Hu, a native of Nanyang, lived in Danyang in 851 AD. It was also written that Su Dai Chow must be smoked. Red knot, Manan flower. Even in Jiangnan, there are Manan flowers. Medical texts say it has the effect of suppressing the shell. We can basically determine that. The term Manan flower refers to the element of opium. Connecting this to my previous encounter with the Manan flowers before the horse, we can deduce that the opium factor at that time. It's also a kind of roadside wildflower that has been ruined by smoke. Su Song during the Northern Song Dynasty. Passing through this field, there is a passage describing factors. The key point is these two sentences. Nowadays, resources are everywhere. People often thought that the courtyard was. So the factors are already everywhere. All are decorations for the courtyard. What factors are involved at this time? It has become a painting for ordinary people to admire. In the paintings of heroes from the Northern Song Dynasty, 3 kinds of hero paintings were drawn. The original factors. A flower has 4 petals in a single layer. The flower pattern in the picture is extremely intricate. The petals are no longer single-layered. It's layered with many petals. People might think, isn't this similar to roses and peonies? Actually, many wild main lines of crown flowers? It has only 1 layer of petals. The characteristic of having multiple petals is called double petals. It is the result of artificial melody. Furthermore, the factors in the diagram have positive red, light purple, pink, and white. It has extremely high ornamental value. By the Ming Dynasty, the poet's cost rate is described in this way. Yunnan factors. Father raises son, resentment arises, flowers bloom in thousands of petals. Those who are red are children, those who are slightly red are half-red, those who are rich are. Pink and red are white and pure, simple and pure. Plain material is as hard as dyed or inlaid material. One type of plain color is absolutely unique. Lichuan. Wang Simeo and Gan Quan then talked about the peony. The most flourishing factor flower. The opium elements introduced into China have changed. It has become an ornamental flower with many varieties, similar to peonies. When the aesthetic factor flourishes in China, opium was also arriving quietly. Yuan Dynasty. The Ilkhanate, one of the 4 major Han Chinese kingdoms of Mongolia. It ruled over parts of the Arab world. Many technologies and commodities at that time. It also spread to the middle of the journey. This included opium. Back then, opium was called Afarung. Arts and sciences, this land of heaven, refers to the Arab region. Is this just a fantasy? Did you understand it immediately? As a diaphoretic and a potent analgesic. What happened to the taboos regarding teeth during the Ming Dynasty? It was touted as a miracle drug. Su Balan made a silver bond, which he called it Master of the Heart and Help Yang. Zhuangjing Yuanqi. This method is often used by men who are skilled in sexual intercourse. It can be said that it deeply grasps the pain points of men. Most of them are made into pills and taken orally, called 1-grain golden pill, great golden elixir, etc. Its price at the time was equal to that of gold. Very expensive. But for the emperor, price was not an issue. Emperor Wanli of the late Ming Dynasty. He rarely attended court. Also not very willing to see people. Later, his remains were studied. He was found to have a serious dental disease. Almost all of my teeth on the left side have fallen out. Long-term pain and chewing habits. His face was deformed. According to the wild death record, the Wanli emperor was in constant pain. Pain from using dental x-rays for many years. So he's been doing this for so many years? They've been relying on drugs to rot away. At that time, this was the period of geographical discovery. Humans in the Americas. A very important eggplant was discovered. That plant is rock grass. Americans? There is a method of smoking tobacco after heating it. After it spread to the Nanyang area, the locals invented a way to combine opium and tobacco. Methods of smoking. This dilution method. It spread to Taiwan and Fujian. It is called opium rock. From then on, opium-containing soil became opium. New name. This dilution method is highly addictive and extremely harmful. Later, he was reformed into smoking opium. Opium smoking can cause constipation, hormonal imbalance. It will also affect certification capabilities. And what about 6 to 12 hours after inhalation? Anxiety will occur, irritability, sweating, etc. And what about 14 to 18 hours later? The symptoms of anxiety will be more severe. She might even shed tears and cry. What about 24 hours after taking it? This can lead to severe muscle spasms by amplifying body heat, vomiting, fever, and other conditions. Even after 72 hours, the body has largely returned to normal. What about psychological desires? It can also lead to repeated relapses. Even the ancients of the Qing Dynasty, seen of seeing opium, it is no longer considered a medicine. During the years of family circumstances, some people, because I vaguely sense the factor, it has become unfamiliar. Naturally occurring herb, aphrodisiac, to achieve great merit with a mediocre grandson. During the Jiaqing era, Western-style opium was already very common in South China, although the imperial court issued a ban on smoking. But the rules and policies for young boys need to be implemented. That's a different matter altogether. Opium importation was simply unstoppable. In 1805, 1 pound of opium could sell for 10,200 pounds. Such high returns. This led many people to try heavy opium. But actually, someone had already tried this in the light and dark section. The evaluation reached is, Chiba Sawaso is both bullish and bearish. It has so many petals, making it visually appealing. The yield and horsehair content were completely substandard. People finally understood it during the Qing Dynasty. For a kind of petal, the petals of the oil are formed. So, people have abandoned the aesthetic factors of Chiba. Thousands of miles. The factor of excessive opium flavonoids imported from India. They first planted them in Yunnan. Then it spread to Sichuan. It then spread to Shaanxi, Gansu, and the Jiangnan region. Although the effects of opium were significant. But even when it's a fruit, it can only produce half a fruit. How much opium does it take to produce 1 pound of opium? It would require 1,000 factors. This does not include the losses involved. In order to produce enough opium, in 1906, the area under opium cultivation in China, it has reached 1871 million mu. The Minnan flower, once widespread across China with its pale white and delicate pink hues, replaced by a factor in the manufacture of black feet. In 1874, British chemist Wright, Marf was synthesized into diacetylmarf. That is heroin. It will also break down into morphine inside the human body. It seems to be the same as morphine, but he is more likely to cross the heart barrier. On the contrary, it causes greater harm to the human body. This made the opium factor even more evil, although they're very harmful. But what about during the Republic of China era? Many places, opium was a tool for warlords and governments to generate revenue. Until after the founding of the People's Republic of China, significant progress has only been made in the lockdown efforts. Current factors and their variants. Planting them is not allowed. Those who sell less than 500 plants will be detained. 500 or more plants constitute a crime. They will be sent there to collect sewing machines. It can only be seen on certain special occasions. For example, cough syrup contains a relatively high amount of dextromethorphan. Its addictiveness and harm are less than those of morphine. Therefore, it is more commonly found in some medicines. Why did Brother Dolly buy Dolly? Actually, it's about the opioid components. On the intestines, the content of ephedra in seeds containing addictive factors is very low. Although it fails the urine test, it is not addictive. Considering the process of buying and selling seeds, there might be someone. Add the remaining opium factor seeds. So, what about high-quality seeds? In my country, it cannot be used as a seasoning. As for the internet, those cloud-like shells and the like that bring wild horns, it gives the impression of cherry tree bark. However, I feel like I'm being perceived. Essentially, it's just skirting the law. However, there is a company in our country that can produce. The commercial name for cherry seed oil is corn oil. You can search for it. As for why it wasn't edited, it's highly likely that it was written and then blocked. Cherry seed oil has a very mild flavor. When painters made oil paintings in the past, poppy seed oil will be added. As for the viewing factors that everyone is most concerned about, there are some in the world right now. For example, the Famuta factor and the red velvet ball factor. They are selling products under the guise of worshipping the poppy. There are also some with even more exaggerated shapes, like pink lilac peony elements. The fruit is super big, a Pollinchi factor, bigger than a tennis ball. The Danish flag looks a lot like the Swiss flag. Pink star-shaped silver succulents have many petals. It looks a bit like a flower carved from Lycoris radiata. These factors, while they may seem beautiful, but essentially, it was developed based on opium. It can still be controlled. It is still an illegal building. And those, the factors of appreciation recorded in the writings of the ancients, they may be destroyed, abandoned in the harsh wilderness. No one takes care of it. They may regress to their ancestral form, became a common person. Those ones, the flowers of the capital city of Minnan, which embody the beautiful aspirations of the ancients. Ultimately, he was burned to ashes in the crevice of desire, forever preserved in history.